Now, why AeroPress? Now, I discovered, this is funny. So this is my newness to the journey. So I was in Oslo for an event, and my AeroPress had broken. So like I was missing a couple of parts from it more than anything. And I had gone into one of the local malls, and they had said, no, we don't, but you should go out to this cafe. They may have some. And it was your cafe that they sent me to. Great. And by accident, I walk into the place, and it's a full AeroPress cafe. And I couldn't believe it, because my neighbor up the street from me opened a coffee cafe, and she did AeroPress, which is a whole process that, people need to adjust to. And it was some of the best coffee I've ever had. So when I walked in there, I was like, holy, it's a whole AeroPress cafe. So what made you decide AeroPress? Like, is there other methods that do you have other cafes where you run your product through, espresso machines or anything like that? Or is your storefront AeroPress all the way, and you're go AeroPress, how did that come together? Because it's a hell of a product.
Well, I have to say that we also have an espresso machine, and we sell a lot of espresso drinks, but probably 50 to 60% of our coffees are made on the AeroPress. And the reason why we chose that was actually kind of coincidental as well. First of all, I don't think the brew method is that important. You can make really good coffee regardless of brew method, but you just need to know how to do it. And some brew methods are very slow, and I don't like to stand in line and wait for my coffee. And the AeroPress is very quick, so that was kind of why it was an option for us. But it actually started with we bought this $10,000 by the cup coffee machine called the Clover, which was made in America, and it was great. And you can make coffee to order real quick in like a minute, and then. But the problem was the machine broke a lot, and then Starbucks bought the company who made the machines, and it started getting difficult to get spare parts and so on. So and then one of my employees came in with an AeroPress one day and said, "Hey, I think we should start to import these because it's great." And then I tried it, and I kind of found it a little strange, but it made good coffee. And so then we asked Robi if we could import the AeroPress, and they said yes. And then we became the distributor. And of course, once it came, we didn't really know how to use it. So we created what we call the World Barista Championship, which is actually a thing.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and then we discovered we could make a coffee as fast as on that $10,000 machine, but the AeroPress doesn't break, and if it breaks, it's quite cheap to replace instead of having that machine. So then we just decided, let's just make all our coffees on the AeroPress, and it'll also help on our sales, of course, when people see us using it, and they can learn how to make good coffee on their own at home. And so it was kind of a myriad of things that made us decide to only use that. And to be honest, we actually considered changing it in our store because the demand is high now, so we kind of need more capacity. But so far, it's still the AeroPress that we prefer to brew with. And doesn't mean you can't brew good coffee on like a filter brewer or whatever. It's just, it's a little bit faster, I think, for us at least. With our kind of setup, it's faster for us to use the AeroPress.
And for people that want to, check out the setup, there's a couple things. So, in the big picture of things, Tim, it doesn't necessarily matter. However, I did have a top 5 coffee from last year that I posted on my Instagram in my sort of, where I did a rundown of my top 5, and you guys were number 1. And I put a picture of the cafe up there. So if people want to see what the cafe looks like just from my journey from last year, you can find it in my coffee section on the Instagram. But online, you've got instructional videos, how you guys make it, and you guys can really check out what the cafe looks like. It's a must visit. I just sent my friend Brent Fitz there in there when he was with Slash in town playing on the recent World Tour that they did, and he walked in and was like, oh my God, this place is amazing. And it was really, I think people need to see it to really see what it's all about. Can you explain a little bit about that method? Because you touched on the subject in there where you said you don't like waiting for coffee, and you found that it's quicker with the AeroPress. But in North America, some would still find the method of AeroPress too long. So, having some would go, oh, I have to wait for the coffee to boil, or and I know you guys have you have a predetermined temperature, but can you break down that method to people? They walk into your place, and what's the process that you put them through? Because it's amazing. Your water temperature is perfectly set. Like how do you make it so quick?
So when you come in, we have a little menu on the counter where you can choose between the coffees we have to offer. So normally it's about 6 to 8 coffees. And then if you choose your coffee, we'll have to, grind the beans into the AeroPress. We normally preheat it a little bit with some hot water and just to rinse the paper filter. And then the coffee goes into the AeroPress. We weigh out 14 grams coffee that's in the AeroPress, and then we put it underneath a water boiler that has 93 degrees water going straight onto the coffee, so 200 grams of water. And then we stir it 3 times. We put a little kind of plunger on just to create a vacuum so the water doesn't go through the paper filter. And then after a minute, we take the plunger off, we stir 3 times, wait a couple of seconds, and then we press. And in total, the whole process takes 2 minutes maximum, unless there's a huge line, of course, with the AeroPresses. Then it might take a little bit longer. But you have to realize that Oslo is full of places where you can buy coffee and get it very quickly. And people don't come to our cafe to get a quick coffee. They come to have a good cup of coffee. So
absolutely,
most of our guests are willing to wait 1 or 2 minutes for a nice cup of coffee. And of course, sometimes we have a line, especially in the summer. So they have to wait a little bit longer, unfortunately. But we're trying to have enough baristas behind the counter to kind of run through the lines pretty quickly. And on busy days, we actually have one person standing all day, only making AeroPress, not doing nothing else. So we kind of have a designated AeroPress person.
Do you and you were mentioning 93 degrees? Is that the optimal coffee temperature, or have you messed around with the temperature of the water over the time?
No, that's a good question actually, because there's a lot of opinions there. And for me, with our coffees, because we roast pretty light, we can use boiling water. You're gonna lose some temperature regardless when you pour it onto the coffee, because the coffee is room temperature. The brewing device is also normally room temperature or a little bit hotter, and so on. Fortunately, with the AeroPress, it's made of plastic, so it doesn't steal a lot of heat from the water. So that means we can actually run slightly lower water temperature out of the boiler. And the reason why we do 93 is because if we do higher, we actually have to wait for the boiler to kind of get up to temperature. Whereas with 93, we don't have that kind of lagging time. And then you just adjust your grind setting to kind of fit that temperature. But a lot of people say that you need lower water temperature. And even if you read on the recipe on the AeroPress box, it says it's best with 80 degrees water, and that's Celsius.
Which,
Which in Fahrenheit, I don't know. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, I've had many methods of doing it, and people, if they want to learn, and I encourage you all to go to Tim's website. It's just basically timwendelboe.com, correct? I believe.
Yeah, or .no or .com, doesn't matter.
And so there's loads and loads and loads of videos on there on how this method works. And you've got inverted, you've got all these different cool videos for people that, want to test out coffee. And it's a must watch if you have an AeroPress. And I'm guessing that anyone listening to this is going to do me a favor and run out and buy one. If the message as soon as you're done, because it's literally one of the best methods I've ever had. But there's some videos on there that are super educational, and I think that's a really great thing that you are doing as far as educating people on the method.
Thanks for stopping by, friends, to the Brenton on Tour podcast channel on YouTube. Coffee, music, travel, life, all of those things. one page, lots of guests, lots of chatter. We talk about all of it. If you like it, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Thanks, friends. See you next time.